Hey y'all, how you doing? Today we are in the midst of another snowstorm and it's unseasonably cold for this time of year for us. So I'm going to pot up a few of the things that we planted here together, and I think I'm going to cut back my onion and leek seeds because, no, shallots. My onion and shallot seeds because they are getting tall. Keep on wanting to call my shallots leeks. I'm not sure why. We still have snow on the ground from the last time it snowed because the temperature never got warm enough to melt it. And we're expecting another 4 to 8 inches tonight. And it's been snowing all morning, literally. And it's supposed to do this the rest of the day into the evening. So we're going to be working inside today. The first thing I need to do is put soil in some of these 4-pack cells. And once again, my soil is still wet in these bags, so I'm not pre-wetting it because it's already wet. And then we shall get to, so we can go ahead and get to uppotting these plants. The first thing I'm going to uppot are these ruffled feathers pansy. Now I'll make tags as I go. I'll put one tag per 4-pack cell. I'm trying to figure out how this would be the easiest. Probably like this. I have stuff sitting around everywhere, so it's kind of hard to move around, but I'm going to fill up several of these first. That was almost a fail. Once I get a flat's worth filled up, I'll start planting. So this obviously isn't working for me. I've almost knocked it over twice, and I'm only three 4-pack cells in. I'm going to use my little dibbler to make holes in my little cells. And also I'll use this to pop out any plants that I need help popping out. So the first thing I'm doing is this tray right here. And let me see if I can get you a more close-up view. So I'm just going to take my dibble and make holes for my plant to go into. And then I'm going to use it to, see if I can get that. I'm going to use it to bring up these plants very carefully. Right now I've got 2, so I'm going to separate them. Put them in the hole. Let's see if I can move this out of the way. Put them down in the hole and just plant. And I will do that over and over again for all of them. Now they're in some fresh soil and they have a little bit more room for their roots to grow. I have some more of these particular pansies in a flat, and I'm going to go ahead and get that same kind out before I move on to something else. The rest of this soil that I have right here, I will just put into my compost bin now that I'm done with it. So, let me turn this. This first row right here has some Dichondra Silver Falls. Everything else in this is a ruffled feathers pansy, and I'm going to take anything that has at least 2 sets of true leaves and pot those up because I've got a couple that look like they may have just sprouted, and I'm going to leave those where they're at until they have more leaves. And then I'll also, these have holes in the bottom, so to get these out, I will just use this and push up through the cell, and it brings it out. You know what, I think to make this easier, I'm just going to pop out all of my plants first and then I'll plant them. There are 5 pansies still in there that are too small to repot, so I'm going to leave those and put them back under the lights. The next ones I'm getting ready to plant have a little bit bigger root system, so I had to dump a little bit of soil out of 3 of these cells, and then I'll just fill in around them once I get them in there. Last one, I think I can just make a hole and pop it in. I ended up filling up 7 of these 4-pack cells with pansies, so that's 28 pansies that I have here, plus the 5 that are still in their original cells. I'm going to jump off here and make tags for these, and then we'll move on to the next thing that I'm potting up. So the next thing I'm going to do are the Dichondra Silver Falls, and it will be much like it was with the pansies. First I'm going to pop out all the plants from their cells, and then I will plant the plants in their new home. I have a few of them in this one too. Well, by a few I mean 2. I only have 6 of these, so I'm going to take one of my 4-packs and empty out 2 of the cells. Nothing will be planted in those. This is just how I do it, so it makes sense in my own brain. So I will plant 1 complete 4-pack, and then the other one will only have 2, and that will be 6 plants altogether. I just need to make 1 tag for this one, so I'll do that real quick. And there were 6 of those altogether. I did have a couple of seedlings die off on me. They just did not thrive. They came up and then died. Well, one of them came up and died. The other ones just didn't germinate. I think there was only 10 seeds in all, so I got 6 out of 10, which is pretty good. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do are these, what are they called? They're called honeybee violas. I've got 8, and then a couple of them that either did not germinate or are just now germinating. I've got a couple little tiny babies. We'll just leave them alone and see if they get bigger, but hold on, that's not even 1. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7. So once again, I will empty out 1 of the cells on those 4-packs, and then I'll plant the 7 that I've got. First, let me pop out the plants. I also have Lysianthus in here. I'm just going to leave them where they're at for now. Eventually they will get potted up themselves, but I want to let them grow on a little bit first. Plus I have a couple that are just now shooting up. Most of them have got germination. I do have a couple of empty cells, so I'm just going to let them grow on for a little while, but we're going to work on these honeybee violas. All of these plants will just go back under the lights until they're bigger. Here's my tag. And let's dump out one of these cells because one of them only needs 7. I mean, one of them only needs 3. I've got 7 altogether. These ones have a little bit bigger root system, so I put too much soil in my thingies. Look at that one. It's got a pretty good root system in it. So I have this whole tray potted up with violas, dichondra silver falls, and pansies. And those will go under my lights. The last thing I want to do for today's video is give all my onions and my shallots a trim because they're getting tall and it's not time for them to go outside yet. So that's what I'm going to do. These all are getting a haircut. Okay, here I am with my onions, and I'm going to go ahead and give them a trim. These ones right here are the yellow sweet Spanish. I've got my little scissors here, and we're going to leave about 2 to 3 inches. I'm cutting them back to where they're about 2 or 3 inches tall. If they're already shorter than that, I'm not going to cut them. And you can save these and cut them up and use them the same way you would green onions or chives. I would say I'm leaving these closer to the 2-inch mark. I'm just not being very particular about it. You just don't want to cut them all the way back. Some people will tell you not to cut them back because it can introduce disease because it leaves the top hollow. There are other people that tell you to cut them for larger onions. I will say that I don't know if it'll cause you to have larger onions or not. I've never had it introduce disease whenever I've cut them back. The main reason I'm cutting them back is because they're inside right now under my lights. And I don't want them to get too tall to where they outgrow how high I'm able to put my lights. Here in a couple of weeks I will be turning on my greenhouse. And when I do that, all these seedlings will move out to my greenhouse. And at that time, I may or may not cut them back again. It just depends on how tall they get between now and then. My next tray is my yellow of Parma onions. I had a lot of germination on these ones. There's a lot of onions in here. Seem to be growing fairly quick. These ones are taller than the other ones that I have. Or the ones I just did, at least. On average, these ones seem to be taller. there's so many that have germinated in these ones that I might actually have to pot them up and separate them a little bit. Not now, at a later date. Honestly, if I do, it'll probably once I'm able to be out in my greenhouse to work. This next one is Elsa Craig. This next tray had a lower germination rate. There's just not as many onions in this one, and it's the Ecodema Salad Red Onion. And these next ones are the Zebrune Shallot. And they didn't have as much germination as my onions, but they do have more germination than the Ecodema Red. Now I have a nice handful of onion tops that I can use for dinner tonight. And let me show you an example. Some of them will still have little seeds attached to the top. What I do is I just pull it off whenever I go to use it and throw that part away. So that's all I have for you today. I potted up some things and I trimmed my onions. Once I get out in my greenhouse, it'll be a lot easier to film and it will be less awkward and I'll have more space to work. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while I played with plants today. I hope you all are able to play with some of your plants as well. It's just that time of year. Some of these videos might be a little repetitive because it's seed starting and potting up time and all of that. But it's honestly what I'm working on this time of year, and I like to bring you all along with me. Like I said, once I get out in my greenhouse, I'm hoping that it's a little bit smoother for me to film. I don't know if it'll be smoother for you guys to watch, but it'll definitely give me more room to work around, and I'll be in a less cramped space. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.